Well, the Tennessee Titans lost this weekend again, but this week it was a little bit different because this time I didn't walk out of this game thinking the future is so bleak, everybody needs to be fired, and everything just sucks in general. No, this week was a little bit different. I actually came out of the game optimistic. It was weird. So let's get into my full thoughts on this game. So, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey. And in today's episode, we are going to be looking over Week 12 and what's been going on with the Tennessee Titans as of recently. And, just how I felt like this game went for specific players, positives, negatives. I'll go over the head coaching candidates at the end. But then at the very end, we'll talk about next week, which I believe we play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Duval. Golly, I know that Liam Cohen has ended up fine, but I can't believe that we just so quickly forgot about that ridiculous moment. But I'll also explain in that period of time why we should be excited for that game and why I think that we can compete, maybe even beat the Jaguars. Now, obviously, I don't want to be that guy that's just like, we need to lose out. I mean, some of these teams in the NFL right now, man, are pretty terrible, and we gotta stay extra terrible to keep us away from that first overall pick. I mean, we need to talk like look, here's the thing. The best thing about hiring an interim head coach is that they can be garbage because, well, I mean, because they're not really fighting for their job, especially a guy like Mike McCoy. Mike Kafka has to fight for his job because he's actually in the running for a head coaching position in New York right now. Mike McCoy is not going to be the head coach of this football team, right? I think that most people can agree with that. Mike McCoy is not going to touch this head coaching spot with a 10-foot pole. So he can just stick to his own philosophy, which really isn't that great, and that will just help us ride out the tank. I mean, we'll get to some of that stuff later, but still, let's get into today's episode. Starting out with, I want to say this. I'm very grateful for the fact that I was able to write my first article for Music City Miracles. I'd like to thank the guys over there, like Jimmy Morris, for just giving me a chance to actually do something. Titans article writing, but also I want to give a shout out to Thunder Radio, who gave me my first chance to actually, and also hi Thunder Radio. I'm still with y'all, but I'd like to give a shout out to Thunder Radio, who actually let me write my first article. And I'm just grateful for the fact that I was able to make something. I'm just grateful I was able to make some article. And I mean, that's really it. I'll leave the link in the description if y'all want to go check out that article and let me know how I did. What do you think? It was over Chris Shula as a head coaching candidate. I'm hoping that at some point this week I can get out another article, this time about another head coaching candidate, a rising young star on the offensive side. And you could probably take a guess about who it is, but I'll let y'all know whenever we get to the head coaching candidates because he is on there. So anyway, but let's get into the actual game, starting out with Cam Ward. Again, not putting him into a positive or negative, but I got pretty close to putting Cam Ward in the positive because this felt like a really good game by him. Because everybody around him, except for the offensive line, was working really well. And, I mean, there's just so much to say about him. He was 28 for 42. He had 256 yards with 37 rushing yards on the ground, a touchdown, no turnovers, and he had a rushing touchdown, making that Cam Ward's first multi-touchdown game as a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's huge for confidence, right? Like, even if we did lose, and even if one of those touchdowns did come in basically garbage time, I mean, the Chimere DK touchdown really wasn't. It was kind of a garbage time touchdown. But even with that, it's a multi-touchdown game. Just seeing that stat line gives confidence to us as fans, but it also probably gives confidence to Cam as a player, even though he already has that. But anyway, this was his best game by far. Like, it was really hard to pick at what was the best one. Was it the Cardinals game where he made one of the best comebacks that the Titans have seen in the past few years? Is it the Patriots game where he was just kind of okay? Was it last game where he threw the best throw, even with some of the great throws that he made during this game, was still probably the best throw that he has made of the season? I stand by that. Or was it something else, right? Or heck, was it even the Chargers game where he got robbed of a great game by the coaching staff? Like, which one? Actually, no, the Chargers game was kind of whatever. But still, like, what was his best game? Well, we finally have a definitive answer for that, and it was against the Seahawks. This is a top 5 defense in the NFL. Let's just talk about that. And he was able to actually get something going against them. Like, I was thinking I was going to have to come on here defending Cam Ward again, not not coming on here and saying that Cam Ward was terrible, but defending him as in, like, this is a really phenomenal defense against a really, really bad offense, Like, that was the attitude that I was going to walk into this with. But no, he played a good game, and he elevated everybody around him, especially his receiver and tight ends groups. Like, the O-line was still not great, and I never thought I'd say this, but we really need Dan Moore back. Like, Udo, I think that's how you pronounce his name, started at got left tackle snaps in this game, and he got absolutely fried. I mean, Cam Ward was rolling out of the pocket every chance that he got. And honestly, it kind of prevented us from having any time left on the clock because we had to go for it on fourth down so much. It prevented us from having time left on the clock to actually formulate their drive, another touchdown drive, then give us a little bit more stuff to work with, time to work with, if you will, against that Seahawks offense. Like, dude, it was a lot. But my biggest thing with Cam in this game was that he finally used his legs. He finally started actually running the ball, right? Like, look, okay, I'm not one to say that Cam Ward is just like this Lamar Jackson type quarterback or anything like that. But it is nice to see him get mobile, like, get out of the pocket, run up the middle and all that stuff. He did have a weird moment where he tried to run up the middle and he just randomly pitched it off to Tony Pollard. That wasn't the best moment that he had. I still think that if he runs straight up with that, it's probably a first down, but it's fine, right? That's the youth of it, if you will. But yeah, I mean, still, it was really nice to see him be using his legs. That was not grammatically correct at all, but it was nice to see him use his legs and, roll out of the pocket. He's looking more comfortable each week. And I think that a part of the comfort this week was one man's elevation. His connection with X is real. Like, I mean, it is real after watching that game to me. First off, I mean, he had 2 receptions, which, that was fine, right? I mean, it's not like he lit the world on fire or anything. And he almost had a great contested catch, which, I mean, some people in the Titans community are very lucky that he did not make that catch because it would have been absolutely terrible for them this morning on Titans Twitter. But anyway, like, I think that Restrepo earned his spot on the roster with this game, and I think that he may end up actually getting more time early, because I think that if he gets time that whole game, then we're talking about X in a completely different light right now, right? Like, look, he's not the biggest, he's not even the fastest, right? But, I mean, he gets open. Like, especially in a league where zone reigns king, like, he's not going to burn anybody, but he'll get open in space. I mean, that's what he was always best at, was finding space in a defense to get open. So, like, I don't know. I really want to see him get more opportunities. And, yeah, I mean, he was just really solid on Sunday. And I guess that means that he's positive. But anyway, just overall, great game by Cam Ward. Hoping to see more of it and get X out on the field more. That's all I got to say. Okay, now we got to talk about the positives. First thing, I already talked about this with Cam and X, but the youth. Gunnar Helm had another decent game. Chimere DK had a very good game. Alec Aomanor is still he's injured. So, I mean, he hasn't really done much recently, but you gotta say that he was hurt. Prochet, that's not a young player. Hold on. I was just ratting off receivers, man. Obviously, I already mentioned Restrepo. Let me think. Who else played well on Sunday? Oh, yeah, Kevin Winston had another good game. Marcus Harris has been surprising, honestly. He's been really good. Cedric Gray had another solid game from what I remember. And just overall, like, this was a good game for the youth of the Tennessee Titans. And as long as this stays consistently a positive through the next couple of weeks, then I'm completely okay with that. I mean, for goodness sake, the youth has outperformed the veterans on this team. except for the defensive line, to be fair. Femi got hurt, but even whenever he was playing, even though he was starting to have his breakout game against the Raiders, he got hurt, which is unfortunate. But before that, he still wasn't really that great. So he's the only one that has been outperformed by his fellow vets. But we knew that. We knew that he was a project and that it was going to take a minute for him to fully develop into a solid defensive lineman, right? I think that we all knew that, but at least most of us knew that. There were a couple of people that tried to hype up, like, well, Femi is going to be terrible because he played 5 games and was awful. Like, some of y'all need to give Femi the same patience that you're giving Cam Ward because, like, I mean, that feels very hypocritical. But anyway, going off of Femi, just, I don't know why I went on that little side tangent about Femi, but again, just like, the youth has been outperforming everybody else. Cedric Gray completely just running laps around Cody Barton. Then Kevin Winston running laps around another safety, which I will mention later. And he was even lapping around Xavier Woods before he got hurt. And who else is there? Yeah, Tajay, I guess, is outperforming Tony Pollard. Not by much, though. The receiver corps, give me a break. Like, look, I feel bad that Calvin Ridley got hurt, but even without Calvin Ridley, like, the receivers have completely outperformed Tyler Lockett, who got cut because of how good the young guys looked. He got cut by, or Van Jefferson really hasn't been that great. James Prochet has been there. That's really about it. And the young receivers just keep on showing flashes. And heck, it's really difficult for me. I want to hear this in the comments section. Do you think that Gunnar Helm has outperformed Chig? Because that's really hard for me, because I feel like Chig has all the explosive plays, but I feel like Gunnar Helm has been more reliable whenever he's been out on the field. It's the weirdest thing, but still. Anyway, yeah, youth played really good. Second positive that I had was competitiveness. I mean, it's just nice to see a competitive game, especially against the Seahawks, who have been playing games that have been over by halftime with how dominant they have been. I mean, that's just kind of their style. They go full on the gas pedal, and then they just do not let up. Like, they keep on going at your throat until they have beaten you into the ground. And, well, we did a decent job of keeping that somewhat contained. I mean, and Njigba obviously had an amazing day again, but it's really hard to stop an alpha receiver like that whenever he gets open, which is why the Titans need to draft a wide receiver. I mean, it feels like, I'm just preaching to a wall here whenever I say this because, well, everybody knows it. Everybody knows that the Titans need to get a receiver, at least in the first or the second round. Again, that's something that I want to hear. Do you think that the Titans should draft a receiver or a defensive lineman? It's really tough for me, honestly. I think that'll really come down to who gets hired as head coach. If it's like an old school guy or a defensive minded guy, it'll probably be edge. If it is a modern offensive mind, it will 100% be a wide receiver. I have no doubt about that in my mind. There's a certain example of that that's pretty obvious for. But anyway, again, just really nice to see a competitive football game with a team that could, whoa, that was a little bit too close, that could end up being, I'm not saying Super Bowl bound, but NFC Championship bound, right? Anyway, just really nice to see that competitive game. My last thing is special teams. I didn't even mention Chimere Dike's just ridiculous return touchdown. Like, dude, the special teams has been performing week after week. John Fassel is absolutely just phenomenal at his job. That dude needs to be brought back by whoever comes in as the next head coach. Whoever comes in as the next head coach, if you don't retain John Fassel, I will have lost some hope. I wouldn't have lost all hope, obviously, but I will be a little concerned about what's going to happen going forward if he is not the special teams coordinator next season. But anyway, who else is there? That was really about it. Like, we feel the same way about our special teams as the Giants feel about their offensive line coach. Speaking of which, if that dude doesn't get retained, you got to go after him immediately. Dude, that would be amazing. Him or Mike Munchak. You got to go after one of those two because I think that they would absolutely kick tail as an offensive line coach. But anyway, getting too far into the coaching staff, just special teams played a really solid game yesterday. and just like really happy to see them playing solid. Now we got to get into the negatives. Unfortunately, there were still a few. Starting out with the run game, I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. Like, the leading rusher was Cam Ward, again, with 6 rushes for 37 yards. That's really bad. Not Cam's rushing stats, those were pretty good, but the fact that he was the leading rusher with 37 yards, that's ridiculous. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, offensive line didn't do them any favors, but I'm sure there had to have been at least 1 or 2 holes that they just were not hitting, right? That's just at least how I feel. I think that Tajay should be getting the running back 1 reps. I think that Tony is just too old for that now. And honestly, I'm still shocked that we didn't at least trade or, the heck, even just cut him straight up. But this is why I am excited for the running back class, not of the 2026 draft, but of 2026 free agency. Breece Hall, Travis Etienne. There are a couple more that I can't remember, but there is a very solid running back class at the end of this season. And Breece Hall even. Like, if we can get one of those running backs to come play for us, I think that would be absolutely huge for this Titans team, just because we really needed a solid running back 1. And I know that we said that we're going to rebuild through the draft, but I would not be shocked if we end up being one of those teams that gets running backs through free agency and just goes in and gets a dude that can do solid for us for a couple of years and then replace him with somebody else that'll do solid for a couple of years, and then that cycle just keeps on repeating, right? I wouldn't be shocked if we ended up being one of those teams, unless we sign an elite running back, which honestly, that's probably not going to happen if we're being real. But just somebody that can carry the load for a year or two and maybe draft like a flyer in the 5th or 6th and hope that dude ends up playing out pretty decently. So, yeah, I mean, run game is a really big negative, but I still have hope for it in the future because I don't think that this will be the running back room in 2026. I think that it'll be completely revamped. It'll be like the Vols receiver room from 2024 to 2025, where it's just a lot different and you don't recognize as many faces, but it ends up being better in the long run. Anyway, my next negative, play calling. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's the thing, right? First off, I want to talk about this screen pass that I saw at Chig, the one that nearly got picked off. What was that play design? Like, look, I saw it ran the same way in the Cowboys game, and like, I don't understand it. Like, it's not from the fact that, like, I'm not good with schematics because, well, I mean, I'm not a schematic nerd like some other people. But, like, it just looked weird, and it looked bad, and it looked wrong. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it was a bad play design, and it almost got completely blown up. It did get blown up, but not completely, right? There were still, like, a couple of small pieces left. But, dude, I didn't understand that play design, but that's not the worst of the play calling. Worst of the play calling was running it up the middle on 4th and 1. Like, look, I remember hearing Justin Mello say this on the Music City Audible. Like, I get it. It's fine. You know, you want to be old school. You want to run it up the middle and trust your trenches. That's fine. Why these trenches, though? With Julius Chestnut? Like, look, at least if you're going to run it up the middle and trust your trenches, put it in the hands of your most powerful back, which is like, what, Tajay Spears? Even then, it probably still wouldn't have worked. But, like, look, our trenches are not going to outplay the Seattle Seahawks defensive line. That's just the way that it is, okay? I don't know why we thought that was a good idea, but hey, more power to you, I guess. But, man, just like, that was a really bad play call. And then there were other examples throughout the game I don't have the energy to talk about, right? Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, this play calling is just terrible. Bo Hardigree was kind of fool's gold from the start. And who knows, maybe Bo isn't calling the best games because of the fact that he is given a terrible playbook, if we're being completely honest. Like, that could be the case. But again, like, man, I don't know how else to describe it, man. Like, it's just not good. It really isn't. And Mike McCoy, look, I'm going to stop talking about conservatism just because, like, you know, that's going to be what Mike McCoy is, and he's not going to be here next year. But I will not stop talking about whenever terrible play calling comes in and ruins games for specific people, right? That's just not the way that I'm going to be. But anyway, just the play calling was really, really bad. And the last negative that I have, this is somebody that I've been wanting to mention for a long time, but there have been so many other negatives that it just didn't feel I just didn't feel like covering him. But Amani Hooker. I don't like Amani Hooker. Not anymore. I really liked Amani Hooker last year. He was probably our best. He was our second best defensive player last year, behind Jeff, obviously. And, he was a nice veteran presence in the secondary that desperately needed it last year. And, I don't know. I really like him. Here's the problem, though. Man, he got paid and then he disappeared. And, again, something may be going on that none of us fans know about, but I feel like that says a lot about a person's character, if you will, whenever the first thing that they do whenever they get paid big time is just start fading out or, stop playing as hard or whatever, right? It just doesn't give a good sign for somebody. And I really don't like that. I really hope that he turns it around, honestly, but it's just really frustrating, right? And I really hope that he bounces back and proves me wrong. But from what I've seen, it seems like that he played hard that contract year to get the bag and then just decided, okay, I'm going to be mediocre. I mean, that's really all that I can say. But anyway, golly, that's a sour note to end on. But still, remember, this was a very good game for the Titans. Very competitive, very solid. That's really all that I got to say. And if I could do more than 3 positives, I would, because this would be one of those losses where there are more positives than negatives, just truthfully. All right, now we get into the top 5 head coaching candidates. First off, honorable mentions, coaches that are currently in lawsuits. Okay, so that means Brian Flores, John Gruden, out. I don't want them. Now, I think that they could be pretty good, especially in the case of Brian Flores, who has the coordinator connections, but since he is suing the NFL, really hard to actually hire him without having some controversy behind it. And also the NFL is pretty buddy-buddy or the Titans are pretty buddy-buddy with upper administration in the NFL. So there's that. Oh, I mean, it's going to be very hard for them to actually, not follow suit with the NFL and hire one of those candidates. But anyway, Anthony Campanile is the next honorable mention. Again, his defense has been pretty good. It hasn't been amazing, but it's been pretty good. And again, I just really am sold on the fact that Anthony Campanile is a phenomenal leader, right? I am very confident in the fact that he will, at the very least, bring leadership and culture to a locker room, if anything else, right? That's how it comes off to me with him. Seeing just the way that he speaks to his team, seeing the way that he speaks to, even position groups specifically. I mean, if you've seen Hard Knocks for the Dolphins, then you know what I'm talking about. Just I don't know what it is, man. I just think that he's got real potential, but I'm keeping him as an honorable mention because I don't think his unit has proved enough. Joe Brady's my next honorable mention. Again, he's fading fast, if you know, you know. But, I mean, Joe Brady, golly, he was a top 2 candidate at the beginning of the year. And honestly, I was really excited about it because I kept on telling people, look, Joe Brady was given a terrible situation in Carolina. Let him go to a better team and he'll do wonders, right? And he did for a little bit, but the offense just hasn't been as good since those first few weeks of the season. And some of that has to do with the fact that they just that they've played better teams. So again, I hate that, but it's just the truth. Joe Brady fading out. It still has the potential to be a guru, but I just am starting to stop believing that. And honestly, I am kind of hoping, I'm hoping just personally that he stays as the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills and that they don't fire him or anything, because I really want Brian Daboll as the offensive coordinator for defensive mind if we were to hire one of those, right? I think that he would do wonders with Cam as an offensive coordinator. He's just not a good head coach. Yeah, I mean, that's really about it. Anyway, but yeah, Joe Brady kind of falling out of candidacy really fast. Okay, now we go with the top 5 head coaching candidates. Number 5, this is a guy that I've been kind of talked into by a specific Twitter user. This is Mike LaFleur. Shout out to, I believe his name is pronounced John Frascella. I mean, y'all know who I'm talking about if you hear that name pronounced and you're around football Twitter in general. Mike LaFleur is actually a very solid head coaching candidate to me because people will talk about but Sean McVay is the offensive mastermind in that building, and he's amazing and all of this stuff, and best head coach in the NFL, offensive minded, calls the plays. What exactly does the offensive coordinator do? Are they like, is it like The Office, the assistants to the manager, right? Like, that is the question that keeps getting asked. But I'll take you to something else. I mean, there have been bad years in the McVay era. Like Kevin O'Connell, this is not an example of the bad years, but Kevin O'Connell was hired after being the offensive coordinator for Sean McVay, and he ended up being just fine, right? And also, Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator for this team for 1 year in 2023. That was the worst year that they have had in the McVay era by far. And it had people thinking that they were on the cusp of a full-blown rebuild, right? Like, that was the idea, just, looking at this, right? Like, that was the idea that everybody had in their head about, like, yeah, I mean, that was the idea. Like, I don't know how else to say it, that that was the worst year of the McVay era and that they were going to go into a full-blown rebuild. But then, after Liam Cohen leaves to go back to Kentucky and then goes to Tampa Bay, he had a weird journey to being a head coach. But anyway, then Michael LaFleur gets hired and the offense just gets better. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? LA that year was totally injured, right? Not that much really to work with. But we have seen, and first off, Stafford played for like half of the season and they were still really bad. Like, and I'm not even talking about to where, like, it was just like, wow, they're having some really competitive losses and, maybe this team could get hot. It wasn't like that where the Rams, they got off to like slow starts the past 2 years, but then they really picked it up halfway through the year. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like they were bad from the start to finish, they were bad, right? So then Mike LaFleur comes in and the offense just gets better. Same thing with Chris Shula, which is why he is on this list. You'll see where he is. But like, I think that Mike LaFleur is a good offensive coordinator who got screwed over by really bad quarterbacking in New York. I feel that way 100%. And if we were to hire a defensive mind, I wouldn't be close to letting Mike LaFleur have full control of the offense and let him develop and let him just, be by himself and develop Cam Ward. Like, I think that is a completely fine thing, right? But the thing that does concern me, though, is that he's not an offensive play caller, and he is an offensive coordinator with a very big last name in the NFL. Sound familiar? But anyway, Michael LaFleur's my number 5. At number 4, I have Jesse Minter. I've said everything about him. Innovative defensive mind, Harbaugh coordinator. Like, this dude, he's kind of boring, weirdly enough, but he's just, I don't know how to describe it. He's just a good head coaching candidate. And even though the Chargers are coming down on some hard times right now, just don't forget about the fact that whenever they had an offensive line, that defense was still playing great, and Justin Herbert looked like an MVP candidate. That's not saying that Jesse Minter had anything to do with that. But whenever the offense was clicking, the defense was clicking. And because that offensive line got hurt, the offense stopped clicking, therefore the defense stopped clicking. So, again, don't underestimate Jesse Minter as a head coaching candidate, because I still think that he is a solid head coaching candidate. Anyway, number 3, Klint Kubiak, again, a dude that I've spoken a lot about. Lost 2 of the Seattle receivers. Then the offense just came out looking better than it did the year before. And again, it's hard to say more about Klint Kubiak. I mean, y'all saw his head coaching audition. Their offense played pretty well, and they scored 30. Like, it's a good old-fashioned 32. It wasn't like that they forced some big turnover or something and the defense scored or the special team scored. That was a tried-and-true 30-point game from the offense. And again, but here's the thing. I have no idea if he's going to get hired by us or the New York Giants. It'll really come down to one thing. Does he want to go be the head coach for a team that has an established receiver that he knows he can spam and it'll end up being pretty solid? Or will he go to a team with, like the Titans, where we don't really have an alpha receiver and he can choose one of his own and build that from the ground up and spam that receiver? That'll be really what it comes down to for me, at least, if Kubiak's even in the running for the head coaching candidacy for the Tennessee Titans. Anyway, yeah, I mean, high ceiling, again, also worried though. Really famous last name for a dad who could end up just being a schematic nerd that didn't really learn that much about leadership. That worries me. But anyway, number 2, Chris Shula. I wrote the article about him. Y'all know exactly how that is, how I feel about him. I think that he's one of the best head coaching candidates on the market right now. I think he's the best of the newcomers because I think that he has a really high ceiling, but I don't think his floor is as low as most of these other guys. Like, I don't know. I just feel confident that Chris Shula is going to be a great head coaching candidate somewhere. And hey, Justin Graver, I remember 2 years ago, whenever we were hiring a head coaching candidate, he just kept on talking about how watch out for this guy, watch out for Chris Shula, watch out for this guy, this defensive coordinator, Mike Macdonald. Like, I think that he's going to be a great head coaching candidate. He's doing a similar thing with Chris Shula, and like, I mean, why not trust him at this point, right? But anyway, number one, it's the experienced head coach. I put Mike McCarthy down as this one, but just anybody with head coaching experience like him or Robert Saleh. I wouldn't want Vance Joseph, but if you feel like he's the right guy, then sure, whatever. And his defense has been balling out to his credit. So, like, I don't know. But anyway, just an experienced head coaching candidate is my number one option. Just somebody that's been there, done that. Mike McCarthy, it's the positive of he's had multiple winning seasons. He's worked with two very unique situations as a head coach. And I mean, just overall, like, he has had very good offenses almost every year of his career, right? Then also Robert Saleh. His biggest thing is that his defenses were always great in New York. And even though his offenses lacked, I think that was more so of the fact that his quarterbacks were terrible. And look, he hired Nathaniel Hackett, but that felt like pressure from higher ups in that organization, specifically from like the owner and those types of guys. But I mean, also you got to consider the fact that, well, they went 7-10 almost every year with him. And look, that obviously doesn't sound great at first until you realize that right now they are like, what, 2-10, 2-9, maybe? Like, really bad football team, right? So again, like, that would be a dude that I'd be interested in. And he has those offensive coordinator connections. He has connections to Daboll. He has connections to McDaniel. He has connections to Michael LaFleur, who I think would do better as a play calling offensive coordinator the second time around, right? Like, I just think that overall, he and Mike McCarthy are tied for the best head coaching candidate this cycle. Anyway, last thing before I go. This has been a long episode. So we play the Jacksonville Jaguars next week, and I'm just interested to see what happens there, right? Like, I think that it'll be a very competitive game. I don't know if we'll outright win it just because of the talent gap and the coaching gap. The coaching gap is really wide, but I am very interested to see what happens in that game. I mean, I think it'll be competitive. I think that Cam continues to show flash. This is a head coaching audition for Campanile as well, so just putting that into consideration. But again, I'm just really interested to see what happens in this game. I just don't know how else to stress it. So again, I hope that this game is competitive, and that's really all I got to say about it. So anyway, that's it for today's episode. I have Instagram and Twitter under the Titans Rundown for anybody listening over podcasting or Thunder Radio. I have YouTube under the Titans Rundown as well if you want to go check those out. And yeah, I mean, that's really it. So that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.